Firstly, I want to say Happy International Women's Day to all the women who help keep the world running by having and raising children, doing essential jobs, and by uplifting and respecting us men. A large proportion of women respect men. So what I am about to say is not aimed at you. So, what is International Women's Day? Is it a day to recognize that women in some third world countries, or even some second and first world countries, have little rights and are getting abused? Hell no. They couldn't care less about those women. It is a day for feminists to bash men for all the quote-unquote disparities women face in countries, where women are arguably treated better than men. When feminists mention countries where women do face abuse and inequalities, they do not do anything to help them. They only use it as a way for them to gain sympathy and say that men are bad people. I also want to point out that most institutions do not celebrate International Men's Day, and most men don't even realize that it is International Men's Day on November 19th. Last year was the first year for me that I even knew it was International Men's Day on the day. What rights are feminists fighting for? One of them is so egregious that I can't say what it is on YouTube: the right to delete their unborn baby. Since 1973, around 65 million unborn babies have been deleted in the U.S. alone, making it one of the worst genocides in history. Feminists say my body, my choice, even when no medical harm befalls the woman for taking the baby to term. Men do not get to say my body, my choice ever. If a man is married or de facto married, which means he lived with a girl for 6 months, and he wants to leave, or the girl wants to leave, he loses all of his stuff. You could say that is not his body, but the point still stands. Men are also faced with strict laws on what constitutes self-defense. Men can go to jail for protecting their health from an attacker, especially if the attacker is female. It is also law that if a person is threatened with death, they are legally exempted from any crime they commit if ordered by their capturer, except for murder. Taking this mentality over the reproductive rights of women, should not even be allowed to delete her baby if her life is in danger. Of course I disagree with this, but women having reproductive rights for healthy babies which will not cause them risk is not only immoral, but far beyond rights men have. Of course the morality changes if you consider unborn babies to be inhuman, which is why feminists fight for them to not be seen as human. But why are they not human? They are just undeveloped. Even if they cannot sustain themselves outside of their mother, they are still human. I want to mention the story when a group of boys smashed a goose's eggs, which caused the goose to die because she was so sad. People said that the boys should get in a lot of trouble for that. Yet, can it not also be argued that the eggs were not gooses yet? Obviously, they are alive and are still gooses despite being eggs. When a person is asked to unalive two people, and one is clearly younger, they will most often say the younger one. So I asked why we allowed 65 million babies, of which 64 million were perfectly healthy, to be unalived in 52 years. Another right feminists are fighting for is equal pay. Obviously, equal pay has been debunked so many times and has been illegal to pay women less for the same job since 1963. When you account for what job men and women do and how many hours they work, you find that men and women make the same amount of money, if not more. What feminists are saying when they say they want equal pay is that they want women to do just as well as men, even if they don't work as hard and do a worse job. Feminists also say that men hold all the highest paying jobs and are most of the leaders. How does this affect the average man or woman? The truth is that most of us are unaffected by this. You could argue that men holding the power means men are treated better, but that is not true. Most of these men do not care about other men and only care about profits. This means that they will happily side with feminists if it means making more money or having more female customers. Most men with legal power are feminists as well, meaning they will treat men much worse just because they are men. It actually says a lot about feminists if they think that people favor their own gender. The reason men make up most positions of power is for one reason. Men have a higher IQ deviation than women. This means that although the average IQ of women and men is the same, men are much more likely to be in the extremes. Because of this, most low IQ people are men, but most high IQ people are also men, meaning that the highest talent pool will be composed of mostly men. So not only is the fact that men occupy the highest positions of power natural in a free society, but most men do not even benefit from having men at the top. Some people say International Women's Day is a day to celebrate how far women have come, but I would argue women have gone backwards since even 100 years ago. Sure, women have gained the right to vote and the right to equal pay, which has been a right for 60 years, unlike what feminists say. I would argue this was a golden age for women, the 60s, where they had equal rights and men and women respected each other. But since then, everything has gone downhill. More women than ever are depressed and miserable, with a quarter of U.S. women being on antidepressants. Women, and I should also say men, are sleeping around more than ever, not having the pride and self-control that people from previous generations had. Being feminine and performing feminine duties used to be considered extremely respectable, but now feminists look down upon these kinds of women. Many modern women, I would consider to be worse men, because they are not feminine at all, have no interest in starting a family, and try to compete with men in work, in which men have the biological advantage, that is, being stronger and having a higher deviation for IQ levels. Unless a woman is in the top percentages of talent for women, she will struggle to compete with men. Women, however, have many advantages over men, which include the ability to breastfeed and birth children, the latter never being given the credit it deserves. What I think is very sexist is how feminine duties are seen as lesser than male duties, to the point where it is considered demeaning to tell a woman to stay in the kitchen. Why is it not demeaning to tell a man to get a job? If anything, it has the opposite effect of telling a woman to stay in the kitchen. So what progress have women made besides being more miserable? Lastly, I want to talk about women getting abused in first world countries. I have to say abusing women is wrong, but why only focus on women? Physical abuse by women against men is equal to physical abuse by men against women. Yet abuse against women gets much more media coverage, and there is much more support for female victims. This doesn't even include all other forms of abuse, of which women commit much more often than men. To see a more in-depth analysis of abuse against men, watch this video. And I want to end this video by thanking all women who treat men with respect. You deserve a day to celebrate being a woman, but that's not what International Women's Day is actually about. Thanks for watching. Please like and comment.